All right.
All right. You want warm up?
Yeah, why not? You know,
Okay.
it's Friday.
Yeah.
It's not Friday. It's
not Friday.
It's Tuesday.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Wednesday. That's how out of it I am.
Yeah, I'm out of it too. I'm a little hang dog, as they say.
You're a hang dog? I've never heard of this.
I have no idea, but I've heard it.
You just decided to use a new phrase?
Yeah.
Hey, you know, last week...
Maybe it'll mean what I want it to mean.
Don't do that, because last week I dropped Cookie Duster, which does have a benign connotation to mustaches, but according to Premium Dong Sang, there's a pretty nasty...
Apparently, there's like either a second meaning, but also it's kind of a pejorative in the world of mustaches, apparently.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's like...
What about Nose Neighbor?
That's a new one. I've never even heard of Nose Neighbor before.
I heard that on The Simpsons.
Oh, really?
But that was like an early episode.
Was it like a Flandersism?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It does sound like a Flanders thing.
Yes, it's perfect. So,
you want to warm up? What do you say we do zip zap zap, huh?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
All right.
Let's get improv.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Get us in the zone, get our energy up, get that quirk factor that the audience wants.
One of my hands. All right.
Oh, yeah.
You going to start or am I going to start?
Oh, whichever.
All right. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Zip.
Zap.
Zap. Shit! What the Whoa.
Okay.
What the dude, what the fuck?
Did you do it too hard, or
I had nothing to do with that.
you said zop and then it went off?
You wanted to play this game.
You're the one who zopped.
I've never shot anybody.
That was your zop.
A, I've never shot anybody. B, I've never shot anybody as a part of Zip Zap Zop.
Let's try it again.
I've made eye contact and like paid attention.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. One more time here. How about you start? How about you start?
Okay. But zip
Zap.
Zop.
Yeah. Oh, good fuck.
Jeez.
I try not to swear so hard on the show.
Wow. That's a hole.
That's a hole.
That's a hole.
Hey. Well, those wasps.
I should hope not.
Dude, you might have like an infestation up there.
Let's hope they're bees, and then they're just making honey.
What do wasps even do, though? Like, wasps always seem like they just hang out and be angry.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I've heard wasps have issues.
Do they have like a nature function? Do they pollinate shit, or do they?
I don't think so. I think it's bees. I think wasps dress up like bees to kind of get like some of the bee perks.
Yeah. They're like, we don't have any special skills, and people don't like us because we're angry and scary looking. Let's just dress up like bees and see if we could get into all the cool ass hives.
All into the bee clubs.
All right, should we try this one more time?
Zip zap zap.
Yeah, I don't know.
How about red ball?
What's a red ball?
You don't know red ball?
Is that the one where the ball gets bigger or smaller?
Yeah, but
and then people can start throwing you more stuff.
Yeah. So let's just start with just red ball.
I'm rusty.
Okay. When you take it, you gotta say thank you, red ball. All right.
Okay.
Okay. Red ball.
Thank you, red ball. Red ball?
Thank you, red ball. Red ball.
Red ball. Thank you, red ball.
Okay, now you throw it to me.
Red ball. Okay.
No more warm-up games.
Why? Like, are you moving like a bunch of old-timey weaponry? Like what?
No, because we're just throwing in like inanimate, invisible shit.
Yeah, like
the whole point of these games is that
are you some kind of like bullet sorcerer?
Not to my knowledge. I don't know.
Welcome to Dank Ass Stubs.
I'm Aaron.
This is I am happy to be alive.
Yes. No more warm-up games.
No more warm-up. Yeah, maybe we shouldn't warm up. Maybe we should just start cold. Maybe cold is where it's at.
Yeah,
man.
cold open.
This is summertime.
Yeah, we'll do a cold open like your favorite TV dramas.
That's what we should do. Is we should get like a bunch of joke writers and just do a cold open every show.
Yeah, or have like a spooky image of a burnt teddy bear in the pool.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Or a pizza on the roof.
A pizza on the roof.
Did they? Oh, that wasn't a cold open.
No, I think there was maybe some specific shot of that pizza on the roof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got that roof of pizza.
Roof of pizza.
Roofs love pizza.
Everyone knows that.
Dude, I really like your desktop over there.
Nice. It's
a cool-ass industrial landscape.
It's actually, I'm going to cop. It's from the opening for the first season of True Detective.
Hell yeah.
I'm not certain I can say, like, oh, it's from the opening of True Detective soon anymore because there will be another season and presumably it'll have a different opening.
I would imagine. I still got to watch True Detective. I haven't seen the first season yet.
Yeah,
I really want to. Like,
it's neat. Don't. Don't. So many.
Is it not the second coming of TV? I've been told it is.
It's neat and it's smart and it does stuff that a lot of lesser shows don't do.
Like Jankum.
Yeah.
I told Charlie this. I really want to make this is a dream of mine. Welcome to Dank Ass Stubs.
Welcome to Dank Ass Stubs.
Strap in, because this is about to be some bullshit. I really want to make a movie, a really gritty, serious crime drama, like a Goodfellas type movie or a Scarface type movie about drug cartels. But instead of having it be like cocaine or heroin or meth, I just want it to be jankum. Because, just imagine, some kind of shootout with Tommy guns set to opera in a vineyard somewhere, but just jets of brown poop juice spraying everywhere.
Out of these big industrial barrels with big weather balloons tied to the top.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's
big wood barrels.
The thing is, it's like... The thing that made, supposedly, jankum a thing was that you could make it at home.
Yeah, but this is, primo jankum.
I don't want to think about what makes jankum primo jankum.
But that would be what would make it great. Is it would have to operate on some weird level of absurdity that the film itself, the characters never actually acknowledge. Where it's you could just make jankum yourself; it doesn't matter. But still, they're strolling through the halls of the jank cellar, and the dawn is this is the finest. This is my life's work. This is the foundation on which I have built my empire. Without all this shit, I would be nothing. You would be nothing.
You're doing this beautiful, perfect hybrid of Joe Pesci from Goodfellas and Brando from The Godfather. It's split down the middle.
And just a little a sprig of Cagney for garnish.
Yeah, there's a little Cagney in that.
Yeah, that's what I said. Would that be a great movie, though? Be 1995 was a good vintage. I don't want a lot of onions that.
So Jankum is like wine in this world, but it's illicit wine.
I guess
wine in the days of bootlegging and prohibition.
Yeah, it would be there was a Jankum prohibition where all poop is, all bathroom activities are regulated. This is about the most sophisticated poop joke I've ever tried to make.
Just government controls all septic material. Yes. All sepsis is now federalized or Jesus.
No, I'm sorry. Enough of that bullshit. Back to True Detective because I want to. Yeah.
There is no jankum in True Detective.
Oh, that's a bummer.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Don't worry about it.
My apologies. There is no jankum in the first episode, first season of True Detective. Spoiler alert.
Wow, now I don't have to watch it, thanks.
Yeah, here's hoping season 2 with the incomparable Vincent Vaughn.
Hey, Colin Farrell with that mustache looks like he could sport a mad jankum addiction.
Yeah. I hope not.
You need to get off this shit. I can't. Or I can't.
Is he an Irish character? Because none of the promos have shown him actually speaking.
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm interested now. See, here's the thing: is I was always intrigued by True Detective. I heard good things, and everyone's like, "Oh, Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey, they're so good in this. They're so nuanced." And on the one, it's I think it's an interesting cast. Having people like Vince Vaughn and Colin Farrell and what's her name? Who's the female lead? I forgot. Rachel McAdams.
Yes.
And the other guy, who is that? Taylor Kitsch.
Yeah, I think he's on it.
The guy who is John Carter. It's it's an interesting bunch because it seems like they're all interesting choices for a show like this, but also they all kind of need it. In one way or another, it's Colin Farrell's still kind of getting back to a place of
since
acclaim and respect. Yeah. Well, and since all that stuff, in
A Winter's Tale.
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing. Is it seems like he's still trying to find his footing. Where it's there are some really good movies. It's since all the sex tape stuff and since the sleazy period of his career, he's come back and done some more interesting stuff in Bruges and things like that.
Oh yeah.
And he's regained some of that respect as an actor. And then there's been things in the middle like Winter's Tale and the like. But it's like, you know, he seems to... This would be a good move for him. Vince Vaughn can't seem to get back on a track where he's, you know, a draw anymore.
Yeah.
Like, because they keep pitching him for, like, these weird nice guy comedies and then other things, and it seems like he needs it.
Yeah.
And, you know, we haven't seen Rachel McAdams in a little while, and this is, you know, another one of those career boosters. And Taylor Kitsch is, like... Just, like, every movie that he's been in thus far, everyone's like, this guy. Like, so it seems like a cool place to prove that he's got chops.
Yeah.
But that's sort of the thing is, like, now... Seeing the promo for season 2, I'm like, this looks way cool. Although I'm a little afraid that True Detective will become like the career saver machine, where it's just like, who's got a struggling career this season? Like, let's bring those actors on.
The only thing is, I don't recall Woody Harrelson or Matthew McConaughey having struggling careers when True Detective hit. Like, Matthew McConaughey was already kind of like in the midst of his renaissance when he did True Detective. But
I would argue, like, True Detective was an integral part of driving that home. It's like, without True Detective, he might not be quite so as he is now.
Yeah.
Woody Harrelson seems like one of those dudes who...
He's always at the same level.
Yeah, he's always... Like, he's never too huge, but he's never gone, you know?
Yeah, Woody Harrelson is always at Woody Harrelson status.
Yeah, and he, you know...
It's like Woody Harrelson never did that... Never did a 5 years of rom-coms where he couldn't stand up unassisted.
Yeah. Love those posters. I want to go back and make one of those posters for every recent McConaughey film.
Like True Detective, where you see like shaggy ass Rustin Cole getting held up by Woody Harrelson.
Or does he have like a female, like a love interest?
I'm not gonna spoil anything for you.
All right. Or like him in Interstellar being held up by like Anne Hathaway or a planet. Yeah, just leaning against a planet.
Yeah. That's right, because I mean, it's like Matthew McConaughey before the failure to launch and Ghosts of Girlfriends Past and everything. He wasn't like
I heard that one was actually kind of cute.
Really?
But I don't know.
Here's what I want to know: why were all of his ex-girlfriends dead?
I want to remake Ghosts of Girlfriends Past in like 12 years. And make it that he killed them all. Like, make him this fucked up serial killer.
It's like, I want to know, it's like, what the fuck did this guy go through that all of his loved ones are dead now?
Maybe it's like he's bad luck, Chuck.
Maybe that's why he needs some counsel in his love life, because he's mourning everyone he's ever dated.
Yeah, it's got to do something to your mind, even if you're not in any way fragile, just to be like, wow, all of my recent girlfriends and love affairs have died. Like they're all physically dead. Maybe I have AIDS. Like maybe something's wrong. Like
maybe I'm cursed. Maybe I am a curse.
I want to do a prequel to that movie where it's just like a really dark like possession tale. Just like he finds an ancient amulet on an archaeological dig with his girlfriend. Or some shit.
It was like some pharaoh that was slighted in love and so decided to take vengeance from beyond the grave.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm interested now. See, I'm interested because True Detective was like one of those shows where on like the hype scale, it was like, you know, Breaking Bad proportions of people going like, no, this is incredible. Like, so I'm curious to see how it flies because, you know, I finally watched Breaking Bad a couple years ago, you know, towards the end. And it was like, like I get it. I see what you mean. Like this is incredible.
I would say, like, I loved True Detective. I thought there were great things about it beginning to end, but I'm not going to deny its faults at all. I'm not going to say it's like, there were for every like all the flashes of brilliance in True Detective, there were still things that like kind of brought it back down to earth.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I feel like
but I mean, it's when you're strapped in and you're actually along for the ride, it's a cool ride.
Was that HBO or AMC?
Oh, it's HBO.
Oh, okay.
It's HBO. It's full HBO.
It's not TV.
It's not TV at all. It's actually radio. It's a radio play.
Yeah, it's a radio play, but it's so well orchestrated. You can actually see it.
That's how well it is. Yeah. Little known fact, HBO, when they say it's not TV, it's HBO, it's because what you're actually seeing is an optical illusion. The sound effects are vibrating in your eyes and making you perceive images that aren't really there. Yeah,
you're actually in a trance.
Yeah.
So, you know, think about that. Chemtrails.
That's how HBO shows get so hyped, because you're not, you know, you're kind of in a thrall.
Have they?
It's like Dracula.
Yeah.
Dracula.
Or John from Cincinnati. No, when he glamours you.
Yeah.
Is that what happens to Renfield? Like, Renfield goes crazy, but isn't he under Dracula's
he's enthralled.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know if it's called being glamored.
No, it's like more recent vampire terminology. We watched Dracula again, because I'd seen it a few times growing up, but we watched it again in like a film studies class I took.
Oh, yeah?
And everyone was super bored, and I was like, this is really cool, though. Like, I really like Dracula. And, like, Renfield freaked me out. Like,
oh, yeah, that was Dwight Fry?
Yeah, that performance, was he the one who, like, famously didn't want to watch the movie because he was, like, it fucked with him so much to play that role? Like,
I had no idea.
I think that's the thing.
Dwight Fry was the original Heath Ledger Joker.
Oh, The Man Who Laughs.
No, that was Adrian Veidt. Or, no, Conrad Veidt. Adrian Veidt is fucking Ozymandias in Watchmen.
Yeah.
No, Conrad Veidt was The Man Who Laughs. I'm saying Dwight Fry was like the original character that got so screwed up by playing a mentally disturbed character.
Like actual Heath Ledger in that scenario.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not as in like the inspiration for the Joker character.
I get you.
Yeah, that was Conrad Veidt.
All right.
Shouts out to Conrad Veidt.
Shout out to Conrad Veidt.
That's my jam right there. Smiley ass son of a bitch.
I feel like we should have some kind of spokesperson. Like, there should be a Dank Ass Stubs universe version of like a Saturday morning monster show hosted by Count Dankula.
We need our Elvira.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I just want like, you know, a cheesy organ and like a thunderclap and just like, welcome, I am Count Dankula. You know.
Who was like the horror host character in House of a Thousand Corpses? That was on TV in like one or two scenes.
Oh, the doctor guy.
Yeah. Whatever he is.
Yeah, shit. I should know that.
You should know that.
Now I'm a
Rob Zombie fan, though you are.
I am a Rob.
You dug through the ditches, you burned through the witches, and you forgot to slam in the back of the Dankula.
You know, I feel like that would be... It almost sounds like the end of a long story where we learned a lot. It's like, well, we had some good times, you know. We dig through the ditches and we burned through the witches. And we slammed in the back of my Dracula. Like,
yeah.
And through it all, I'd like to think that we all grew a little bit closer.
Yeah. I don't know what it is, but in the world of weird Twitter, this constellation of Twitter accounts for guys like Carafax and Drill and John Hendren and Dog Boner and the rest of those guys. Wolf Puppy. I'll lump Wolf Puppy in there too. Even though Wolf Puppy, and I guess Johnny's son.
Does Horse eBooks fall into this?
Horse eBooks is kind of like a wannabe weird Twitter.
Is that like
especially because it was a hoax all along.
Oh no!
Yeah, it was specifically orchestrated by some BuzzFeed staffers.
I liked Horse eBooks.
Yeah.
Damn you, BuzzFeed! I feel
BuzzFeed
duped.
Ruins everything.
Yeah.
But
eventually.
Yeah.
But it's always a fun ride.
Yeah. But in the world of weird Twitter, there's like some interest, there's some like weird fascination with Rob Zombie, oddly enough, where it's like occasionally you'll see somebody specifically making a Rob Zombie or a Power Man 5000 joke.
I love Rob Zombie and Power Man 5000.
You would love weird Twitter because
I will look
for every several hundred tweets about unrelated things, eventually someone makes a silly joke regarding or referencing one of those things.
Hey. Power Man still plays shows, and they're pretty awesome. It was Dr. Wolfenstein, by the way.
Dr. Wolfenstein.
The Internet!
Dr. Wolfenstein, what's his relationship to the 3D Wolfensteins?
He is the inventor in the House of a Thousand Corpses cinematic universe.
He invented the Wolfenstein games?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And
it was his idea to kill Hitler in a robot suit.
Yeah. I wish I heard better things about that recent Wolfenstein game because, like...
The one that came before was apparently good. It was just like this new kind of like standalone expansion that people weren't into.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, then I want to play that. Because, like, you know, I mean, like, the charm of things like Doom and, like, old Wolfenstein, like, those games are all kind of the same interface. It's just you, first person, and, like, the monsters are different.
Yeah.
But, like...
And there's that kind of kineticism and that moodiness to it.
Yeah. But that was, like, an aesthetic where I was like, ooh, like, to put that in a modern game where it's actually, like, you know... weird World War II fucked uppery.
Yeah.
To use an odd adjective. Yeah, I just really wanted to play that. I thought that'd be fun.
Yeah. It looked interesting. There was another game a few years back that looked interesting, but apparently it was a big letdown, and that was Singularity, which was basically it did with Nazis in a sense what Wolfenstein did with the Nazi singularity basically did with the Soviets, where you're in this decrepit old experimental Soviet island-based research compound, and you find a gauntlet that controls time.
Is that the one with the time grenades?
I don't know if
where you could shoot them at people or something, and they would age and die like on the spot.
Yeah. This gauntlet that you can age people and they'll die on the spot, or you can deadlock them and hold them in time. And then there are like kind of tears in between two time periods, in between like the modern day when you're in the ruins of this island, and the island when it was like at its height and its experiments were kind of in full bore, and there was some kind of big disaster. So it's like constantly flashing between the two of them. There are amplifiers where you can have like, there's like this destroyed, rusted hull of a tanker ship, and you use this amplifier and age it backwards, so you now entering the ship once in its pristine state, and it's, it can only hold on to that for so long, so the ship is starting to rapidly age and rust and become decrepit underneath your feet as you have to run through it to accomplish something or other.
This sounds BA.
Yeah, I know, but apparently the game was only like a kind of a B, so it's like lacking in some capacity. Yeah, it was a few years back that it came out, so you could probably pick it up for really cheap these days.
What platform was it on?
I think it was on everything. It was like on everything within its generation.
Oh man!
I do recall there was a sniper rifle that could slow down time.
Because you showed me, I remember.
Which is like a very obvious option.
Because we were sitting down and nerding out, and you were showing this to me.
Yeah, it looked really cool. I think that's
also when we watched the trailer for Crisis 2.
Yes. Where every different when Crisis 2 was getting advertised, every commercial had a different cover of New York.
Yeah.
Because guys, no, really, this takes place in New York. Guys, it's New York.
Guys, though, check this out. Remember New York?
This is that.
This is the New York game.
It's like you're not going to advertise. Well, I mean, I guess they kind of advertise you have a superpowered spacesuit and aliens and things and shooting and things, but it's like. It felt like the main thrust of the game was like, guys, New York City. It's like, it's almost as if like Crisis 2, somebody thought, it takes place in New York, so it's like everyone's going to enjoy, having the authentic New York experience. It's like, no, you're not going to go see your friend's burlesque show in Greenwich. You're shooting aliens.
There's something I like about that. There's something I like about games that will pick a specific city and recreate it under weird circumstances. I mean, I do kind of appreciate the ones that do it in a less just shoot stuff kind of way, but
that's something that I like about the most recent Fallout games. But they all seem very limited in what they can accomplish because
that's
of
one.
What?
No, continue.
I mean, downtown DC in Fallout 3 was supposed to be twice as big originally as it ended up being, and it was cut up into these big sections because all these buildings they massed big loading screens with buildings being destroyed in rubble piles, and you had to snake through these labyrinthine metro tunnels to get anywhere. So it's you never had the experience of just walking through the complete decrepit expanse of downtown DC. And then, I mean, New Vegas sadly had the fault of the New Vegas Strip was cut up with gates that you had to walk through to get to a loading screen. The Strip was tiny. It's tiny. There's only I think 3 working casinos that are habited and populated, but it's the Las Vegas Strip itself is just a 2-lane outdoor hallway.
No,
which is, I mean, I like those games a lot. They're really cool. They're really immersive, but just sad that the main draw of explore this big, vast, post-apocalyptic version of a famous city. It gets so downsized in the translation because of the technical limitations.
See, that's the one.
So let's hope Boston gets a better treatment in Fallout 4.
Oh, that's right. Because I watched that spec video you made. I was very engrossed.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing is I'm not an accomplished gamer. It's I used to play video games when I was a lad. But since it's been years since I've really sat down and played a game for any length of time. Needless to say, I've trailed off on a lot of stories, and one of them was I started playing Fallout 3. Somebody gave me Fallout 3 as a gift, and I was really into it.
Oh yeah.
And that's a game where I always feel like, man, I want to go back and actually put some time on that, you know? Because I feel like that's also a game where I have to restart.
Yeah.
You walk away for long enough, you're like, I don't remember what life I created anymore, or who I ran into.
Or what I accomplished, or who I should revisit.
Yeah, or who I may have killed wrongfully. Yeah. I just remember there was those cool, like, what are those dudes called who are, they're not zombies because they're sentient, but they're like...
ghouls?
Yeah. I don't know. I was really enthralled, and I really liked that world, and I liked the approach. So
yeah,
and that's the thing is like I haven't upgraded any of my systems, so I'm still on like, you know, I'm on that tier of like, you know, Wii or 360 or PS3. Like I haven't upgraded anything, and that's sort of like the one appeals. Like maybe something like Fallout 4 would have all the brains now, you know, or have all the brain like a newer system might have all the brains to do all that shit. Like maybe they can now make a whole city be giant
and expansive and rendered. Like that trailer showed really neat stuff. It shows like a hub city that looks like it's built into a armor-plated version of Fenway Park, and it looks
so rad.
Yeah, and it looks bumping in there. It's like, I mean, I don't know how far you got in Fallout 3, but like, you know, you got to Mega. Okay, did you get to Megaton?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah, it's like the city made out of like the crashed airplanes that has the atomic bomb at the center of it.
Yeah, I got. Okay. Is that? I mean, I wouldn't have had to have played for like a decade to get there, right?
No,
I got to make it. I remember that being a thing.
But I mean, it's like it's like there's that, and then there's this other fort area, and that's as big as any like given settlement gets in Fallout 3, I think. Just, you know, because of, again, graphical limitations. Like there's a city that's built into there's Rivet City, which is like a hollowed out aircraft carrier that a bunch of people live in. And it's huge, it feels big, but it's like the actual spaces for you to interact with people to just, like, Rivet City just starts feeling very small very fast. So, and I think a lot of it has to do with just like, you know, the technical limitations and, you know, the wanting to make something giving ease of access to, you know, the different spots. Like if you're having your player like have to walk through the corridors of an aircraft carrier, you want them to do that. You know, you want to simplify the guts of that aircraft carrier, because it's like in real life it's just like a bunch of labyrinthine hallways and like really narrow corridors, and it all looks like the same gunmetal everywhere.
See, I do remember a lot of that. It's like running a boot, running some more, getting lost, continuing to run, like, you know, between, you know, events and things, and then, you know, side quests.
Yeah, and I think like a game like Fallout 3 is, what I like about those games is like they're full of content, and it's like you can even they still have that kind of like replayability factor, because, you know, once you kind of know the lay of the land, you can kind of plan out how you're going to go through everything the second time around.
Yeah.
And you understand, it's like, oh yeah, I can run this way to pick up that quest, and that's going to give me a little bit of starting funds to get a little bit farther. But if I run that way again, I'm going to go into a bunch of monsters that are way over-leveled for me, and I'm going to die. I don't want to do that.
It's interesting. It gets you thinking in an interesting way, I guess, about strategy.
Yeah.
In a different, in a less. Seems like it gives you more choices because it's not pushing you so hard on like linear storyline. Like,
yeah. And I remember it's like Fallout 3 was, and I'm not an accomplished video game player by any stretch of the imagination.
You're more accomplished than I am.
Well, maybe. But I do know it's like for whatever reason, I've just managed to absorb a lot of like information about certain video games. I'm not like one of those hardcore stickler guys. I'm not sending death threats to women over the internet like you know, true gamers are. But
well, I mean, women are evil.
Yeah, and they're trying to steal video games and force us into labor camps.
They're gonna. That's just the logical outcome of the universe. Is eventually we will all be sitting with these Oculus Rifts on, and they will only be playing like My Little Pony games.
Yeah.
And we'll be forced to Hello Kitty Island forever.
Yeah.
Because women.
Cooking Mama.
What?
Cooking Mama.
What's Cooking Mama?
I think it's a DS game where, you know, it's just like a little puzzle game about cooking, and there's a mama.
Well, that sounds sweet. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend women.
We're being completely ironic. I did mean to.
I really hope that's clear.
Yeah.
Holy God, I hope that is clear.
Yeah.
Because like if someone's like, "Wow, you guys are really sexist," I was like, "Wow,
Did you not listen to any of our other podcasts?
This joke went horribly wrong. Might I direct you to the 2 hours we spent? We dismantled patriarchy.
Yeah, we ran out of the room and interrupted the podcast to dismantle patriarchy.
Yeah,
and then we came back and finished the podcast. But
of course, I mean, we still got
professionals.
Yeah, we can't just leave this shit in the middle.
Yeah,
I want to do a podcast in real time where we leave for like an hour and there's just kind of hiss until we get back.
And then someone totally different has to resume the podcast without any prompting.
Yeah.
Just tag teaming it.
See, that's the thing. It's like this Gamergate stuff weirds me out, and I admit I don't know a ton about it.
On the plus side, it seems to be dying.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like people... I'm not an expert, but I feel like if people learned what feminism actually meant, they would get a lot more mellow.
Yeah.
Because I guess maybe on the outside it's like feminism is a misleading word because it implies you could if you don't know about it, you can imply that it draws a flip of power. Or something like that.
Yeah. I think there's that possibly among other people. I think honestly it's just the world is not equal, but it's marketed to say that everything is fine.
Yeah.
Keep
calm.
Keep calm. Everything is fine. Everything is good. Everyone is free. Everyone has all the equal rights. Yada, yada, yada. And so it's when someone starts complaining, yeah, this shit isn't equal, they look like they're crazy, and they look like they're angry, and they look like they have an axe to grind. They're just trying to, upset something that's totally fair to get privileges. But it's no, the system really is not fair.
Yeah.
It really is not skewed. Ceteris paribus, a straight white guy, I don't care if he has a prior arrest record or if he lives in a trailer park or
Ceteris paribus doesn't sound like a straight white guy.
Yeah, well, Ceteris paribus means all other things being equal. And I'm parroting the guys who do the Crack podcast did an episode that's titled the 90s hit song that destroyed the world or something like that. And it's basically talking about, it's starting with Billy Joel's We Didn't Start the Fire and launching off of that to talk about...
it was always burning since the world's been turning.
But that's basically... They use that song to launch into talking about how people are kind of ignorant of their own privilege.
Oh, yeah.
Because, you say, why am I being punished and why am I being expected to have to exert and, take time out of my day and take blood and sweat out of my life to deal with social inequities that I didn't establish? Well, you didn't establish these social inequities, but if you're in a position to benefit from them, you have the responsibility from an ethical standpoint to kind of make yourself aware and do your part to, kind of upset that feedback loop and help the effort to uplift everybody and get everybody on the same page.
Yeah.
So it's there's... trying to pick up my tangent, but it's the
you need
Jason Park
Texas Instruments calculator.
Yes,
with sine, cosine.
Get that trig, man. So Jason Pargin of the Crack podcast, he basically said, there's straight white guys who live in low income housing and they have prior arrest records and weren't able to finish high school, and college is an absolute seemingly impossibility for them, and it looks like their life sucks, and it's how can you say I have privilege? It's well, you take a gay person or a black person or a woman and you put them in your exact same position, they're going to have a harder time than you.
Yeah, their field of opportunities will narrow significantly.
It's here's the thing, white guy who can't get a job because of some mistakes he made when he was young, and now he has an arrest record, and now he's not pulling in much money and he's barely scraping by. He's doing better than hundreds and hundreds of, say, young black men in his exact same position who are in jail, dead, etc. Or hundreds and hundreds of women who, would not even have the opportunity to, search for the job that he had, who may have gotten pregnant against their will, who may be privy to, or not privy, but who may have suffered through sexual assault and haven't had any recourse or had any protection from that, or a gay person in that same position who is targeted with hate crimes and things like that. It's yes, life sucks for everybody, but it sucks for everybody in kind of a tiered structure.
Well, yeah, because it's if you really resolve to turn your life around or to strike out and to change your situation. It's like, of all the demographics, one of them is going to have an easier time attempting that than many of the other ones.
Like, let's get real for a second here. We're kind of approaching post-scarcity. We are living in a world where you can become a millionaire by filming yourself playing video games on the internet. Mm-hmm. And that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's like, it's like, oh my god, we're finally at a place where our economy allows for somebody to become a millionaire off of playing video games and putting that on the internet. Why is there still poverty?
Yeah.
If we can afford that, why are people still poor and don't have water?
Well, because then it boils down to it boils down to this weird thing of like, well, I just like that guy. Like,
yeah.
That's why I watch his videos, because I like it, which is like such an intangible thing.
Yeah, but it's also, you like that guy because that guy's been given access, that guy's been given prestige, that guy's been given, the education and the self-esteem and the ability to make himself into a charismatic presence, whereas, it's like, that you like that guy, and it's like, out of the whole slew of guys in the world, that guy, lived in a family that could afford to give him internet access, could afford to give him video games, could afford to give him a camera and self-esteem. There are plenty of families where there are people who have just as much potential who don't have the access. Mm. Like, you look at the roster of famous Let's Players or professional Let's Players, you have guys like Aaron, what's his name, Ego Raptor, or PewDiePie, or Markiplier, and they're all white guys. I mean, I think Markiplier is part Hawaiian, but for the most part, they're all...
Is he the one we watched the Five Nights at Freddy's video?
Yeah. He's the guy who was the kind of baritone voice, and sometimes...
Well, and he has a... Yeah, I mean, he doesn't look like straight up like a white dude, but he does still have that sort of like prominent jaw, like, all American thing. He's still.
I'll say it this way, like, this is my take. I don't think whiteness is like, there's white people aren't a race as much as they are a club, and you kind of get into the club of being white on a tiered payment plan in a sense. Like, you can be an economy member, or a budget member, or a coach, or you can be like a VIP.
Yeah.
I feel like, it's like, being
VIW.
The white card is like an Amex card. Like, a lot of people can apply and get the Amex card. Not everybody gets a black card.
Yeah.
Or a white card. My analogy broke.
Fucking white card.
My analogy really broke down when I realized, oh yeah, the highest tier of American Express cards is the black card, and I'm talking about the white card.
Actually, no, it's the Batman card.
It's the bat card.
The fucking bat card.
Never leave the cave without it.
Oh,
it hurts.
It does. It does hurt because it's so silly. It's so silly.
So ridiculous. I like to point something out.
And yet, on top of being silly, it does feel like it's product placement. Like, it's so hard. It's silly, but also so hard product placement. It's like a twofer.
Yeah. It's like this. It's like the most insulting thing. I just like to point something out.
What?
Okay. You go on the internet.
It's like shooting me with a turd. It's like, not only did you just shoot me...
You ever see that Vine where people just get like whatever ridiculous thing thrown in their face, whether it's like a water balloon or chicken nuggets or just like an old rubbery dildo or whatever. There's just this whole Vine thing where it's just like people turn to the camera and then in slow motion a ridiculous thing careens into their face.
I'm a fan of this concept.
Yeah. What you are describing as far as being shot with a turd, that is what I'm imagining. It's just like you turn to the camera and out of nowhere in slow motion, this stupid thing splats into your face and careens out of frame. Yeah. And you just have this sour look on your face.
Just a poop dildo. Just a dildo made of poop.
I just like to point something out.
Yeah.
All right. And maybe this is contributing to why I'm a little, like I said, hangdog today.
Yeah.
I did the horrible thing of getting involved in a pseudo-political conversation on Facebook.
Oh, no.
I know. It was so fucking stupid.
No, dude.
And I'm ashamed of myself for getting involved, but...
No, don't be ashamed. Because the thing is, like, as much as you... And I mean, I'm no great,
I feel like
progressive mind, but, like, as much as you'll sit around and you'll be like, okay, I've seen this play out as a spectator. I've been a part of it. Like, I'm not going to engage because this isn't the medium. But there's always an argument at some point that will compel you to jump on it,
and it's also, it's like when you're on the outside of those arguments, you always see, like, I agree with this person more than this person, but you both look like assholes. And then it's like, you're always afraid. And then, I mean, I guess this is kind of like something that, maybe that's another, and this is something that I was listening to, I was listening to Our National Conversation About Conversations About Race, which is a podcast hosted by Baratunde Thurston.
Dude, you are that's your jam.
Baratunde's my jam, dude.
I gotta check out more Baratunde.
Yeah. He's a cool guy. He's a cool cat.
He sounds like a cool guy.
Yeah, he's a...
I want to hang out with him.
Yeah. If Baratunde Thurston is listening to this podcast, we want to party with you next time you come to the LA area.
We want to party. Let's do this. Let's do like a hyper-progressive pub crawl.
Yeah, it's hosted by Baratunde Thurston and Raquel...
Welch.
No, I can't remember her last name. And... I'm blanking out on the name. It's like, and I normally know their names, but right now I'm blanking out on the two other hosts.
Okay, you're hangdog.
I'm hangdog. I'm really hangdog. Whatever hangdog means, I'm it. I didn't get the letters right. This dog is hanging on this piece of notebook paper.
See, hangdog could either be that or could be like kind of a thing.
Yeah, that's what I think it is.
Could also be one of those things you see on T-shirts they sell at like Big Five Sporting Goods, where it's like a dog on a surfboard.
Yeah, hangdog is just like the new big dog.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like but targeted to the surf market.
So I was listening to Show About Race.
Ghost Book. Sorry, shit moved over there.
That was my foot.
Oh, I'm sorry. For a second there, I was reminded of our sponsor from last week, Tarrowweed Spooky Days.
We must never speak their name again.
Why? Is it like Beetlejuice if you say their name?
No, but they didn't pay for this episode. Later episodes.
Later episodes, maybe. We're still in talks. Yeah. It's really hard to decipher what the talks say.
Yeah.
So
all their correspondence ends up kind of jumbled, and sometimes they'll use an ampersand instead of a letter, and it's really hard to determine what letter they meant because everything is still misspelled.
Well, yeah, it's like they must be operating off of some kind of really outmoded software that just doesn't jive.
It could be like a Dvorak keyboard, and just something like the translation of characters is just not working.
Yeah. So it's a poorly translated keyboard.
Yeah. Maybe it's like a Cyrillic keyboard.
What does that mean?
Cyrillic, as in it's like Cyrillic characters, like Russian.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So I was listening to Show About Race. I can't believe I keep on plugging podcasts that are way bigger and don't need any more attention compared to us.
You know, it's
shouts out to everyone bigger than us.
We're basically Netflix being right now.
Yeah.
Being like, if you enjoyed getting dank, maybe you'll also enjoy this.
Yeah. So I was listening to Show About Race, and at some point they were talking about like there's this whole new thing of black college professors, and there's this weird thing where it's like on one hand, like people of color and who are college professors and academics are kind of expected to become activists and have like an active activist presence at the same time. It's like, you know, everyone's supposed to basically be a Cornel West. Shouts out to Cornel West, by the way. Cornel West with your big poofy hair.
Your big hair.
Cornel West. He's got kind of like a Don King thing going on almost.
All right.
He just rocks a natural.
All right.
But he's an older dude, so it's kind of got like a fray thing at the top.
Yeah.
So everyone's kind of expected to be, on one hand, everyone's kind of expected to be a Cornel West, where it's like, you can't just, go off of the book and just kind of be this static academic. You also have to be kind of involved and have a presence. But on the flip side, there's like, thanks to social media, it's like if you're going to be on the tenure track and things like that, your superiors and your colleagues are watching you on social media. They want to friend you on social media, and so it's like they don't want you to say something that could upset people because
because we just can't handle that anymore.
We can't handle flack getting thrown. So it's like you're supposed to be active, but you can't rock the boat or upset anybody.
Be active, but never have a disagreement.
Yeah, exactly. So that's impossible to do. So it's like, And the thing is, they were going off of that tangent and talking about how there's this whole problem on the internet and on social media where it's like people sometimes, as a whole, collectively, we kind of self-censor. Mm-hmm. It's like, and so political conversations on Facebook, it's like nobody wants to have them, and nobody is still, espouses their political views, and people say, "Oh, you're preaching to the choir. You're just trying to stir the pot. You're soapboxing, or you're just trying to upset people. You're trolling this, that, or the other." It's like,
well, it seems like there's a weird, and this might be bullshit, but there's a weird half psychology for things like Facebook, where it's like a lot of the time, I don't think when people post like a hyper political thing, it rarely seems like the intent was, I want everyone to see this. It seems like people tend to post them with, I want certain people. It's like, it seems it's usually sparked by an article or an argument.
I want certain people to see this, or I'm frustrated about this because I've been thinking about it recently. I just want to express it out into the ether.
Yeah, and then it's easy to forget that, like, oh, some dude I forgot I even friended might pick this up and get really pissed about it, like, or chime in.
Yeah,
and I think that's a weird thing about social media is like the scope of who you're reaching is always different when you're typing into that little box.
But I got into this conversation on Facebook with a girl I don't even know, but we had some mutuals in common, and I'm just like, and I realized, am I like sea ottering her, or am I like doing that fucking thing where it's like someone had, like, a girl had an opinion online and I'm chiming in with the condescending, well, actually, and I tried really hard to not do that because Lord knows that shit is distasteful as hell.
Yeah.
It's like, step aside, girlie. Let a man teach you how to have an opinion. It's like, no. If you do that, fuck you.
Well, that's like a whole tree branch sort of sidebar. There's further warp. There's a joke that came up on Silicon Valley that I think was in direct sort of acknowledgement of the fact that the criticism of the first season of the show was like, there are almost no female characters. So in the second season, they make an effort. There's like a subplot where they make an effort to hire some women, to be progressive and blah, blah, blah. And there's this conversation they have where they're like, where Jared's like, I think we should really, focus on hiring a woman. And they're like, Guilfoyle fires back like, well, I think we should just hire the best person for the job. And then there's this awkward breakdown where they're like, it would be great if the best person for the job also happened to be a woman, even though it doesn't matter. And that is sort of, I'm paraphrasing it slightly, not as good as the argument in the show was, but it seems like nowadays we have this thing where it's like, there's this weird self-conscious doublethink where it's like, what am I trying to say? It's like, it's hard to ever just have an argument with somebody without having to think of like all the different ways,
every facet of like a diamond that the conversation and the greater subject includes.
Yeah, so you become hyper self-aware. It's like, well, I'm a dude though, so how is this going to affect how what I'm saying is perceived?
And it's like,
I'm a white guy.
And it's like, if I use this example to make this argument, then they're going to view it in this way. And then there's this. It's like you
can't just put two ideas out and discuss without it being like, well, who am I? Who are they? What are our gender things? What are our race things? It's like,
what's the baggage we're bringing to the table? What's the habitus?
And so like things get so hyper distilled, and self-conscious.
And then it becomes like this shadow boxing proxy war where everyone's just kind of having half the conversation.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if I keep going with this, like, it started from a simple place, but it's like, I realized it's like, okay, I'm trying to address everything that she's saying and like and have a well-reasoned argument. I'm realizing this comment I'm posting on Facebook is in multiple paragraphs. That is not what this platform is for. And I know the multiple paragraphs I'm going to put out there are not going to encapsulate everything that I'm talking about here. And, it's like I got other things to do, and I'm eventually going to get exhausted, like, talking about this. And it's like by the end of the conversation, it's like, she said, you make some really good points. And then she just said where she was coming from emotionally. And she said where she was coming from emotionally, but the way she expressed it was still iffy because she basically said at the very end of it, it's like, I'm just sick of this whole PC thing, and I think political correctness has gone astray. And eventually, it's like, what next? We're going to be arguing which type of bread, and it's like if you use the wrong type of bread, you're oppressing somebody. And I'm just like, what I wanted to say in that moment was like, hey, let's not compare hundreds of years of subjugation and like systemic devaluing of your personhood to people having a pithy, non-existent gripe about choice of representation of fucking bread. But at that point, I was just saying, okay, she said that she agreed with me on a lot of points. I'm checking out.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time. That's, I'll be here all week. Goodbye.
Eat your waitress.
Yeah.
Tip the veal.
Yeah. That's, like, at that point, it's like, I gotta check out. And it was so weird because it's like, the conversation started with, there's this thing going around of like, that artist who photoshopped a bunch of CG Disney female characters and saw what their faces would look like if they had like more realistic proportions, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, this artist, she just wanted to practice her Photoshop skills and her anatomy skills as an artist and like up her artist game and have like a fun little experiment and like people have done that all the time. Like there are images of like Homer Simpson and Mario from the Mario games, like Nintendo Mario, done up with like realistic texture to them, but they're same proportions. So it's like, what would Homer Simpson look like if he was made out of human skin? Mm. And it's really creepy, but still kind of fascinating. Same thing with this girl's,
or like those busts that were floating around of Beavis and Butthead, but
human.
Yeah, actually, in like silicone and
it's
punched hair.
But it's like then people wanted to say, hey, this is kind of bringing up this is showing an interesting point of the fact that the way women are shown in Disney movies are kind of this way, and what if they could be kind of that way and kind of reflect this a little bit more. And so this girl was saying, oh my god, they're policing cartoons and this is so PC and it's ridiculous, and so launching off of that, I'm just saying, well, I said it got into whole conversations about how culture affects people's mindsets and just like the whole evolutionary psychology argument for beauty standards and the way the conditioning that's used in media, and it was just like we were talking about. It's like you talk about one subject, next thing you know, you're talking about like 300 others.
Yeah.
Because all of this is connected. This is like off of the wake of a lot of other things that I've caught and that have been spreading around on the social media sphere. One is a guy who is a professor who like wrote this article anonymously saying, I'm a liberal professor, I'm afraid of my liberal students because it's like if I say one thing that upsets or challenges their worldview, they can report me for emotional distress or say that I triggered trauma or something along those lines. And it's like, quote-unquote, progressive academic spaces have actually become repressive because, it's like people shut down your arguments and your conversations. And he said, a few years ago at a different college, like one kid tried to report me and say I was a communist, and I wasn't afraid because this was laughed out. Now I'm afraid of liberal students saying that I'm racist or a rape apologist or, things along those lines. And I'm paraphrasing and I'm extrapolating from his article, and I could be off base with the nuance of what he was saying. Disclaimer.
Well, that's not the first... I haven't gotten to read that article yet. I've seen it floating around today, but that's not the first article of that sentiment I've heard.
And now...
or I've read.
And then the past few days we've also had Jerry Seinfeld, who, I'm sorry, you made B-movie. Don't talk to me.
He's bunting.
He's bunting.
Bunting.
It's like Jerry Seinfeld chimed in with his like soundbite of, I don't do stand-up on colleges anymore because, everything's too politically correct, and kids will say something is racist or sexist without knowing what that means, yada, 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 this, that, and the other. I'm just saying, it's hard, and it's going to make a lot of people uncomfortable, but at the end of the day, and this, like, make this the slogan for this episode from my end, it's like, at the end of the day, it is better for everyone to talk about it than for nobody to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because when nobody talked about issues of sexism, issues of racism, issues of homophobia, when nobody talked about it, it's because a horrible, horrible, horrible status quo social order was in place.
Yeah.
When nobody talked about race, we had slavery. When nobody talked about sexism, we had, no suffrage and no equal rights for women. When nobody talked about homophobia, it's like we had hate crimes against gays. It's like, it's like you can't be Putin saying there are no gays in Russia. It's like you're saying there are no gays in Russia because, like, jackbooted white supremacist guys that, are, like, forming gangs on the streets are beating them to death. You're saying you have no gays in Russia because you are, like, by your inaction trying to exterminate them.
So you've either killed them or forced them into
hiding.
Incredible silence.
Yeah. It's like and
then transgender people and anything else.
Exactly. Like, people, like, this is also, we're riding off of the week of Caitlyn Jenner's Vanity Fair thing. And there was the whole thing about, people are calling Caitlyn Jenner heroic, and this just devalues what heroism is. It's like there are multiple kinds of bravery. Someone else's bravery doesn't take from your bravery. Bravery is not a finite resource that we all have to share. And furthermore, it's like maybe not so much Caitlyn Jenner because she's incredibly wealthy, incredibly famous, incredibly privileged, and white. But the thing is, for all the non-white, non-famous, non-wealthy trans women on the planet, they have a high rate of being sexually assaulted. They have a high rate of being killed. They have a high rate of being treated like non-human beings. And for someone to go up in the public sphere and say, I am a trans woman, I am a human being, I deserve dignity and respect and acceptance for my choices, and I'm not ashamed of who I am, that does help the rest of them a little bit, I like to think.
Yeah.
I like to think Caitlyn Jenner becoming a famous and, generally well-liked trans woman will help other trans women. Like, I think there are legitimate gripes against Caitlyn Jenner as a person, like the vehicular manslaughter and certain things she said pre-transition and yada yada. As a human being, Caitlyn Jenner has her faults, but her faults are completely unrelated to being a transgender person.
Yeah, and being using her status to communicate the idea that this shouldn't be or using her status to encourage people to be embrace the transgender community, and not be horrible.
And it's really powerful for somebody.
And putting it on a magazine cover like that, it's like it's as insidious as advertising can be. That is a good instance of pushing back. It's like here she is on the cover of a huge magazine. Like that's a step, that's out in public.
And compare that to Laverne Cox on the cover of Time, like a few years back. Like Laverne Cox became famous already as a out trans woman.
Yeah.
So it's like, and Laverne Cox is also black, and she's also in a Netflix show, and she's an actress where it's like, Caitlyn Jenner was Bruce Jenner. Bruce Jenner was an Olympian and what seemed ostensibly to be a straight white man in the famous public eye for decades and decades, and was in a reality show. Laverne Cox entered the public view as someone that was not within the mainstream, whereas Caitlyn Jenner started as someone who was completely
the ideal, the ideal of the American image.
Yeah, it's like Caitlyn Jenner as Bruce Jenner entered the world as the most mainstream kind of person you could think of, and then morph that into a platform for trans acceptance and trans rights. That's it's like it funnels more social capital into the economy of respect for transgender people.
Well, yeah, and it
transphobic.
Dare I say, provides a different level of perspective, and it's an idea that can reach a different amount of people.
Yeah.
Because sad as it is to say, there are some people who would brush right past that Time cover, but maybe not brush right past the Esquire cover. And
Vanity Fair.
Or Vanity Fair, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Not Esquire. Esquire is...
It's all good.
But yeah, I mean... Lost my train of thought.
I feel you.
It's like, oh.
You feel hangdog?
Hangdog! Hangdog. Well, that's the thing about... that's the problem with... It's like the idea of political correctness now has gotten out of control because so many people have grabbed it and run off in different directions with it.
And it's also political correctness is now like a pejorative people use to shut down discussion. It's like if someone says, hey, let's take another look at this thing or critique this thing or analyze this thing and look at it a different way and maybe say, hey, we got to give the due to people who don't have the same access and the same voice and the same privilege. Like, to shut down that effort, people say, oh, you're being politically correct and whatever. It's like, I mean, there's the whole thing of the ethical idea of, like, your right to swing your fist stops at my nose. It's like, sad to say, it's like, we do have laws and restrictions and kind of social mores about how we apply quote-unquote free speech. Like, you can't like, we have laws against criminal solicitation. You can't egg somebody on and encourage them or coerce them to commit a crime. That's a crime.
Yeah.
You can't, we have, like, countries have ways to regulate or investigate hate speech, You can go to prison for inciting a riot. If you say something that incites a riot, you can be charged with it. So it's like, and it's also in private spaces. If you're a stand-up comedian, you go to a comedy club and you say something that the owners and the owner of the comedy club doesn't like, he doesn't have to invite you back.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to give you another set. He can ban you. Plenty of comics get banned from comedy clubs, totally at the whim of the private owners of the comedy club, not because it's like some jackbooted Gestapo of PC police.
Wasn't that what happened to Dane Cook just recently? Like, he's banned from the Laugh Factory.
Yeah, and doesn't that have to do with him stealing jokes?
No, it had to do with like an altercation with a waitress or something.
Really?
As the reported thing goes, it wasn't like a they had like an argument or something, and he said something about, like, as it was reported, it's one of those things where every article's like, nothing's been verified, but, like, an eyewitness said it was like, don't you, like, I own this place. He basically insinuated, like, I own this place.
Huh.
And then the owner was like, no, you don't.
You're out.
Get the fuck out. Like, you can go to the comedy store and hang out with Pauly Shore. Like, you
can go to Flappers.
Yeah. Hey, you've seen...
I saw Maria Bamford at Flappers. She was awesome.
She's funny. I went to Flappers. I saw what's his name? Tony Baker. That man is fucking funny.
I don't know Tony Baker.
Tony Baker, look him up.
I'm going to look up Tony Baker.
I'm going to watch some Maria Bamford stand up. You watch some Tony Baker stand up.
Will do.
Yeah.
Deal?
Hell yeah. It's a deal. Let's
trade. Shook on it. It's official.
But, like, political correct... See, that's the thing, is, like, I feel like we have to kind of all come back together, and, like, political correctness to me is like this thing that... I don't know what a good example is. I'm going to be silly and pull from, like, Harry Potter. It's like in a game of Quidditch, political correctness has become this weird bludger. It's like just kind of shooting around and rocketing everywhere, and it's knocking into stuff, and, like, just because we've sort of set it off. And I feel like we all need to come together and sort of calm it in the middle of the room and be like, okay, what is this thing actually, and how do we use it properly, and how do we not? Because, like, those articles that are surfacing about, like, well, I can't teach the classics anymore. Like, we can't read Greek mythology anymore because, people have, like, trigger warnings and stuff like that, like, or it's affecting my psychological well-being. It's like, that is an extremely difficult conundrum, because there should be an academic space should be allowed to progress in ways, and it should stretch, it should challenge your mind.
And the thing is, just because something is worth studying doesn't mean it's right. I'm certain that there is an academic setting somewhere on the planet where people sit and they read the Turner Diaries, not because everyone has this this fantasy of, and the Turner Diaries is a white supremacist novel, and I doubt, like, they're reading the Turner Diaries because they think, well, this is actually a very astute and very philosophically sound novel that, you know, perfectly encompasses this ideal that we should be condoning. It's like, no, because this is a view into you know, something that
into a psychology.
It's a view into a psychology. It's a view into a philosophy that we're not condoning. Like, God, Lord knows we're not condoning, but there is value in learning it and studying it and seeing what it's about and where it comes from. Like, the Southern Poverty Law Center keeps a database on confirmed hate groups of all stripes. It's not because, you know, they love hate groups and they're doing it because it's like people need to be informed and people need to be aware and we need to understand these matters.
Well, it gets tricky to me because it's like, you know, it's like we shouldn't just disavow and we shouldn't just cave to the whole, like, you know, I don't want to study this, like, it's causing me mental stress. But on the other hand, it's like, I understand, like, I know people with, like, intense PTSD over things, and it's a slippery slope, and I don't know how to accommodate it.
I grew up with someone with intense PTSD.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I would never point something that looked like a gun at my dad's face, even as a joke, because it's like, I know, like, he had to go through that way too many times, and that, like, you know, even at his advanced age, that is way too much to put on somebody.
Yeah, and that's, you know, that is a thing that is worth at least treating delicately, and that's what makes, at least on the academic side, a conundrum, because it's scary to me that we would take things out of curriculum or cave entirely, because then it's like, then it's almost backwards. Instead of trying to sculpt a society because, like, you know, oh, we only want these ideas and sort of like inflicting your own, you know, ideal society, it's almost like, because we don't want to upset anybody, we're doing the same thing. It's like, we're going to take all this stuff out that is worth having around, at least for study and to understand the people before us or different groups or things like that. We're removing them in favor of the stuff that's not going to upset anybody. And, you know, it's like no progress ever got happen when nobody got upset. Like, or very little. Very little progress is copacetic.
It's that old adage of, like, you know, growth doesn't happen without pain. It's like, I'm sorry, it's like, you know, making a better world is going to involve people getting kind of upset and being kind of uncomfortable. Yeah. Sadly, you know, I wish it were any other way, but it's like, you know.
Nah, dude, just get guns.
Just get guns. No, don't get guns.
Don't
get guns.
No.
Don't get guns and don't play improv warm-up games.
Yeah, don't play any. And no, don't zip zap zop. And what was it, Red Ball?
Yeah, no Red Ball, no zip zap zop.
Red Ball is a really aggressive, like, Red Ball, there's a store in the mall called Red Balls, and it's Red Balls.
Oh.
Red Balls always feels like what Hot Topic sort of aspires to be. No. Because every time I pass
Are you talking about Red Balls or Red Zone? I've seen Red Zone.
Isn't Red Zone like a sports store?
Not to my knowledge.
Oh,
theoretically, Red Balls would be the more sports story place.
Wait a minute. Maybe it is Red Zone. Maybe I'm thinking of Chappelle's Show.
I think I went to a Red Zone once, and
but it's got balls on the outside. It's got balls in the name. It's something balls.
I think I went to a store called Red Zone once, and there was a shirt on the rack called "Fuck Hot Topic." I'm just like, listen, kiddo, we both know you wish you were pulling in Hot Topic money right now. No one's heard of you.
Well, that was fun. I went into the store formerly known as Red Balls, and I had this
Thank you,
weird...
Red Balls.
Thank you, Warden. I had this weird moment where I was like, this is the store that Hot Topic thinks it is.
Yeah.
And that people sort of criticize Hot Topic for not being anymore.
Yeah, the actual edgy counterculture store.
But being inside of it, I was like, my eyes hurt.
Yeah.
And my ears hurt. So I was like, as much as, like, you know, Hot Topic is like, you know, a processed hamburger.
Yeah, Hot Topic is, and I've seen over the years, like, Hot Topic really slipped into catering to a younger and younger and younger crowd.
And I mean, I will not deny, like, I find cool shit in Hot Topic. There's stuff I like there.
I haven't bothered to look in a while because they all smell kind of funny.
They do.
Yeah.
They do. Well, you know, the younger you get, the less you know about deodorant. So... But yeah, no, it's like, I'll cop. Like, I'm not a Hot Topic. Like, I'll always find cool gifties there. But
I mean, it's like, I really like BoJack Horseman. Hot Topic were the first people to have official BoJack Horseman shirts. I think they're still the only people to have official BoJack Horseman shirts. I may eventually give money to Hot Topic for the sake of having a BoJack Horseman shirt.
I mean, I've heard their corporate stuff was kind of disorganized. So I always give like a little credit of cred. I always give a little cred to someone who's disorganized. I'm like, yeah, because like if you were that corporate, you would be organized.
Yes. It's a little fly by the seat of your
That's actually really horrible. That's a really horrible way to judge anything.
I think it'd be hilarious if like Hot Topic eventually got so disorganized. It's like, we're building a store in the middle of a street.
That's
you go outside your front door, it's like you bump into a Hot Topic. It's like, what is this? You see some movers trying to lift it with the crane. It's like, sorry, we don't know where to put it.
We totally fucked up. We got the wrong city plans. We got the Glendale ones. These are the Burbank ones.
Whoops.
Sorry. Our house in the middle of the street. For real. Like, I always like to imagine that song as being literal.
Yeah.
Just like halfway through the song, somebody drives right through the living room. Just like,
why is this here?
Why is this here? You're disrupting city infrastructure, and you're going to cost us thousands upon thousands of dollars.
This is a civic planning nightmare.
Who let this get so far that you have a completed home here? How did you furnish this before somebody noticed and drove right the fuck into your house? Like,
who was asleep at the wheel? But yeah.